Okay, so just a disclaimer again for this session for the Peter, my intro. God damn it.
Hello, today is the 2nd or 3rd, I can't see the date, sorry, right now, of October 2020. This is the public discussion session held by Pageman, the point of contact from Sweden. Reason for this is we normally watch a lecture and ask questions or ask general questions about what we have at the moment. Continue, Pageman.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. So just for the recording, I'm putting out the disclaimer that I'm not a true representative of the Venus project. I'm going a course to become a representative, but I haven't finished that yet. So on these sessions, I would like you to try not to promote other organizations if you can. You know, sometimes it's okay if we're having a discussion about it, but it's not supposed to be a promotion for other things. And try to not talk about conspiracy theories, because we have enough problems talking about this subject. And if you want to assist in any way, then we can get you in contact with the right people. Just let us know that you want to volunteer in some way, and we can fix that. And the last one is, you know, if we disagree, when we have these events, I don't see my role as, I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to assist you in your questions. But if you want to really find out, then you have to go the hard way. And that is to, I don't see it as the hard way. I see it as the great way, that you have to go back to the material and find the answers there. And it isn't as simple as just give me the answer and here it is, and I understand it. If you don't have enough information about the subject, it can be difficult to understand some of the answers that are given. So that's about it. And so on these sessions, it's open for, you know, any questions you have, any thoughts, something you would like to get a different perspective on. For example, the video, if usually not everybody listens to it, and you don't have to, it's just to help us to get, you know, something going. So if we all had watched it, it usually helps, because then we know, you know, oh, that's what we're discussing today. But it's okay if you haven't. Now, does anybody have anything they want to bring up? Something they have been thinking about, or they have any questions?
Just quickly, Paige, there is a couple of questions in the chat. All I'd ask is we don't answer Ron's ones until he comes back, if that's okay. But yeah, David did have a question, I think.
Okay, David. Oh, there, David. Okay, sorry, I got a brain freeze. I was like, who is David? And yes, there's David. Thank you. Okay, David, do you want to ask your question?
Well, yes, I'm asking that, is it okay that you can approach anybody and propose or talk about TVP regard of their background? Or in other words, if you, or in case me, I don't know the background of this person, in the same way, I will talk about the Venus Project and invite him to know a little bit more. So besides that, what could be the best approach? Because I'm sure that you should not approach in the same way to all people. But most of the time you can get it wrong, you know, when you approach. So maybe some perspective about it can help.
So I'm still looking for a successful way of just approaching somebody and talking about this. Whenever I've been in that situation, I just freeze up, because if I'm going to present the Venus Project to a random person, and I think in my head that most likely they have no idea what I'm talking about. To me, it feels like an impossible task. And I view it as demanding too much from a person to, just grasp what I'm talking about. So my solution has been to not talk about the Venus project, but if, let's say, there's a gathering and we have friends over here at my house, I would not talk about the Venus project. I would talk about a particular aspect of the Venus project. For example, human nature, or a world without money, something like that. Why politics is irrelevant. But to, talk about the Venus project and expect them to know what, they might agree with you and they may nod their head, but I would still have the feeling that they don't know what I'm talking about. So do I really want to communicate? If I really want to communicate, I don't think I can in that way, just to a random person and say, hey, here's the Venus project. Give me 5 minutes. No, I need 5 hours. That's how I view it. I need 5 hours. Do you have 5 hours? If anybody has had any success, I'd love to hear it. This is how I view it. This particular way of just approaching somebody. But this is how I am as a person, because I have so much I want to say, and if I just say this much, I'm not satisfied. I feel like I said nothing. I just confused the person. And I understand them when they look at me as a weirdo. I get it. It's such a difficult subject to just bring out and say, hey, what do you think about this? I had a person that came from Norway and he interviewed me. He was going to travel the world and he went to different places and interviewed people about the Venus project. And his first stop was here in Sweden. And after that, he interviewed me for 15 minutes. He said, hey, let's walk around and talk to people and ask them what they think about the world without money. I said, I would not like to do that. He said, why not? That would be fun. I said, no, that's not fun to me. That would be very painful to just go to random people and, hey, what do you think about a world? It would really be painful for me to try to talk about it in that way. So if I want to talk about it, I want to create an event where I say, people, come here, I'm going to talk for 1 hour. And this is the subject. If you are interested, it makes it so much easier, because that gives you the space to talk for an hour. But when you meet a person, that is not an appropriate place to say, can you just sit there and listen for 1 hour and don't interrupt too much? So but that's how I am. Does anybody have any approach that they have used that they feel has worked, that they are testing out?
I made new flyers now. And the first things that you can read is that humanity must live in accordance with what the earth can provide. And yesterday, people really appreciate that approach. You have very nice reactions. And then you can explain that you have to educate people technically, you have to inventory the earth resources, and you have to make a global planning. Of course, in between that, there are things that take time to explain. And of course, many people will not understand, because when you are trying to communicate with others, they came with their approach area.
Fabrizio, can you turn off your video because you're lagging a little bit? Oh, did we? Oh, are you there, Fabrizio?
Okay.
I think it. Yeah, try that.
Yes.
Yes, try it. We were with the flyers, and that you had a nice experience. Please continue.
After you read that humanity must live in accordance with the Earth's carrying capacity, you have to explain that all people must be educated in this technical area. We have to make inventories of the Earth resources, and we have to planning globally all the infrastructure. So yes, many people don't understand because they came with their approach. Yesterday, I was trying to make a girl understand that in order to communicate with each other, we have to bridge the difference in the physical world, not in the personal approach or opinions. And of course, people are not tend to go along with that, you know, because this is a very individualistic culture.
Mm. Do you have the flyer? Is that something you made yourself, or is it an official flyer?
Well, Roxanne saw it, and we make some approach together. But what do you want me to do? Show you the?
Yeah, I would love
flyer?
to see it. Yeah, if you have it.
Give me a moment. Give me a moment.
Yeah,
continue,
sure.
and I will try to.
I find regarding the question Pageman's asking, I remember Alex saying a couple of weeks ago that he finds it beneficial to practice his techniques whenever he goes to the shops or something. Grace, you might be able to help out more there, but to me, it's a trial and error. I'm probably similar to Pageman. It's difficult to approach someone and give him the whole rundown, you could say, but just trying to, for me, I try and at least connect on some level in general times, even if it's getting them to realize the inefficiencies with our current society, because most people that I meet don't even see a problem with that sometimes.
Do you have any stories, Grace, of Alex?
I feel like everywhere we go, he tries to talk to people about it. Or we'll go to some place like he found a room and he would say, oh, this would be a great place to do a screening. So he's always, or he'll suddenly stop the car and say, oh, it would be a great place to post this Venus Project poster on the lamppost all the time. Yeah, lots of examples like that. I think the best way to do it is, first of all, think of what the goal is and what your intention is when you're approaching someone. What do you want to get out of this? What do you want to tell them? And, you know, so if you're planting the seed, you're letting them take over and what they want to do with it. But I think when Peter said the inefficiencies of today's world and the system, if you started talking about that, most people would agree with you. You know, how things are made to be broken down. They're not supposed to last, so you can buy them again and keep the economy going. I found people are just as frustrated about that. Yeah, so thinking about the intention and what your goal is from talking to people, and it will take much longer than 1 hour or 15 minutes to actually convince them. It will take time. As long as you plant the seed, you know, anything could go from there.
Yeah, Alex, he brings an energy to the group, which is highly appreciated, at least from my side. He has so many ideas he wants to try out. So it's very refreshing. I hope he keeps that motivation.
Yeah, he's got a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you for that. Have you tried any approach, Grace?
I think I've tried to talk to maybe some friends or colleagues about it. I would say I'm not the best person to ask about that. I'm still learning and I don't think I'm convincing enough. And they come up with all the old arguments that everyone comes up with. Yeah, it's not easy to challenge their thinking because their conditioning is so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same problem here. Okay, Fabrizio, is this the flyer?
Yes, that is the flyer. I don't have it in design. I only have the text in English. But you see, humanity must live in accordance with the earth can provide. That vital to achieve these goals is to establish of a general education science. I'm sorry, this is in a sketch. It's not proofreading. So in the first you explain that a general education must be given to all people. In the next, you explain that that education help us to bridge the difference and establish global common goals and communicate better, and therefore make the inventory of the earth resources. In the third, you explain the global planning and how infrastructures will be redesigned in order to be standard and work together. And therefore, and in the final point, you explain how we make the decisions. And all that came with QR codes, so people can go directly to the three main Venus Project documentary. Future by Design, The Choice is Ours, and The Paradise or Biblia.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna.
That is the most a simple way I find after 10 years to explain this this approach, you know.
Yeah. Whenever I used to hold, when I held these sessions used to be like lectures where I talk about different subjects, and the more I did them, I started very simple, and then I continued to advance, make it more and more difficult. But what happens is that the more difficult you make it, the more you lose the person that comes there for the first time. They have no idea what you're talking about. You're on book 25. So what happened later on is that I realized that even people that came to my sessions for 10 years, they still don't get the basics of it. Maybe they just enjoy coming there. So what I started to do was to go back and make it simple. And then instead of going up, I started to go down, make it even more simple. And whenever I left that formula, I lost people. They came and it became too complicated. It's easy because, if I hear somebody talking about the subject, I always imagine the person that doesn't have any idea, has never heard these words in these combinations. And I think how confused they must feel. We're going to use the scientific method to monitor the world, to use the resources in a more appropriate way. To us, it seems very logical, very sensible, But to a person that has never, you know, what does that even mean? You know, what about my freedom? You know, they start to think about those things. So I start to pull it back, and I found that it, you know, it became easier for people. And so there's a you know, even if you come, just if somebody would come only to my sessions for 10 years, I presume that they still don't get it, because then they would tell me all the time, Pejman, it's the same thing you're talking about, it's boring. But if they would go and educate themselves, then they would get more out of it. It's very difficult to get all of these points across, even if when we are here for 2 hours. For me, it's
Yes.
Sorry, Fabrizio, continue.
No, I just want to say that even if you explain this approach very simple, as I think I just show you, even after that, it's very complicated to communicate with people.
Yeah,
it's really complicated. I put it in test last night, and I didn't know from where I can explain or make she understand this approach. It was very difficult. Despite we all been talking and reading about communication, you know, it's a very complex situation and process, really.
You know what I usually do? What actually leads to a bit of fun as well, is when you're in a conversational situation with people, you can challenge them, kind of like you see on some of the videos that Jacque starts his lectures with. You can say something that'll get people to go, whoa, wait a minute, you know, and catch their interest a little bit. It becomes a fun discussion. Say like, hey, democracy is obsolete. What? Wait a minute. You know, that usually leads to kind of an interesting discussion. You're not going to convince a whole bunch of people, but you get people thinking. And I think that's important as well.
yeah. Have you done that? Is, for example,
Yes.
that topic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I do it all the time. Every time I'm at a party, because I am. Hey, maybe I'm a bit different as a person, but I really find it challenging to talk about a lot of, you know, socially irrelevant blah blah at a party. You know, I'd rather talk about something, an actual topic for some reason.
Oh, you're that guy at the party.
Yes, I'm that guy. Yeah.
We're all that guy, that person.
Okay. I find the more I learn with TVP, the less open I am to the blah blah bullshit that you normally hear, or that I want to participate in.
Oh my God, the he said, she said, and then they did, and then they bought a new jacket. And I'm like, oh my God, shoot me. It's just
Kill me now. I normally go over and play with the kids because it's a bit more reinforcing than what I hear.
Yeah.
Just quickly, there's a few questions in the chat and Ron's back page. I know Florian asked one as well, and I think so did Esther.
Okay. So let's take, first off, Florian, are you there? Can you talk?
Yes.
Now, first off, Florian, you're in Sweden, right?
No, I'm Austria.
Austria, okay. Because but you were not from Sweden. No, I'm mistaken.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. So what was your question? Can you phrase it?
My question was just about volunteering, that I'm waiting for confirmation to join the software team, and I'm also kind of decided to do more, and I want to become the POC for Austria area because there is still none.
Okay. Okay, Peter, are you going to assist him?
Yeah, so I was just been messaging him and Stefan in private chat. So I have been in contact with the coordinator of that team, and he's just asked if you guys have filled out the NDA. So you can just maybe message me later, and I can help you out a bit further, if you like.
Yeah, I actually signed the NDA like super long time ago, so I probably should sign it again. But I sent a mail to request it, but I haven't received the actual document yet.
All right, no problem. Just maybe both of you, if you're messaging me after, I know, you know, obviously the global teams rely on volunteers like everyone else. So sometimes stuff is a bit slower than what we'd like because it depends around people's lives and whatnot. But yeah, definitely give us a message here or probably on Facebook straight after, and I'll try and chase it up for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Okay.
If
Esther,
you want to try the other questions, sorry.
yeah. Esther, you shared with somebody? You're muted, just so you know.
Of course. Yeah, so, you know, my sharing's changed over time and my thinking, and I think that I owe that to having done Landmark Worldwide, which what Jacque was talking about, you know, we're conditioned by our environment. So I went into Landmark Worldwide discovering, you know, that I was conditioned by my environment. And one of the things I did yesterday was, so from that place, you know, of being in sort of transformation, transforming my world so that I can communicate effectively with others. And even though I can do that, I'm still looking for, you know, the magic touch. And what I've been hearing is that, you know, we're all doing the best we can, but it does come from, for me, from repetitive, listening to repetitive stuff, whether I, like, you know, what you were saying, whether I came for 10 years and heard you say the same thing, would not be the same thing for me. It would be that I'm hearing something new, or it's like I've come into this today. It's a new space. It's not the space that we were in 2 weeks ago. So we're not thought to think freely for ourselves. So yesterday when I met this woman, we have a platform in New Zealand, it's called Neighbourly, and we can do, you know, lots of things on there. We can buy and sell things. We can, you know, there's just a lot of different platforms on there. And I was selling something and she wanted to buy it. So I gave her, you know, the choice to come and have a look before she bought it. And so anyway, she spent about a half an hour chatting with me. And in that space, I mentioned the Venus Project, and then because she mentioned politics, and I said, well, you know, to be honest, I said, I don't know a lot about politics. I've never really liked politics. And so, you know, I can't answer your question about whatever she was asking me about politics. And instead of going into what I shared about the Venus Project, I just shared from a place of, you know, what I know and who I've become around the Venus Project. The Venus Project is embedded in me, so that having it embedded in me means that I've got to keep it active, I've got to keep it alive. So to keep it alive, I need to share it. And so I shared, you know, a little bit about the Venus Project, and then I was sitting in the boot of my car. I've got a little Mazda Demio. And I was sitting in the boot of it, and anyway, to kind of make a point about the Venus Project, I shut the boot of my car and I said, look, I've got this on the corner of my boot. So it was the Venus Project. It was a sticker, and it was stickers that I'd got off Alex. He'd sent them from Christchurch to Auckland to me. And she said, oh yeah, I saw that when I came down. So I've caught her interest, but I didn't stay there. What I do is I don't push anything I'm talking about on people. It's like the Venus Project. I used to shove it down people's throat and all sorts of things and get reactions. But now it's just a conversation for me. I had this, you know, like conversation, And then we moved on to something else. It was, half an hour. She chatted. She asked me who I would vote for. I said, well, I didn't vote last year, and I probably won't be voting, for our voting in this year's elections for our Prime Minister. So on that note, when she left, she sent me a message, and she said to me, well, it'd be really great to catch up with coffee for you. I really enjoyed our conversation. So, that's the beginning of something. So it means I've got another chapter I can bring forward to one person. And so sometimes it's just one person at a time. We don't know where that's going to go, but I think we all make a difference no matter how that shows up. Even if people are angry, it still gets the Venus Project out there, still gets people looking no matter what their views are, because people are conditioned that way. And the only way that people are going to shift the way they think is by doing some sort of training. So I like Landmark Worldwide. I spend time in giving people access, and I say, look, there's an online introduction. I'll send it to you if you're interested. And that was another new person I'd sold something to on this Neighbourly. And I sent her an online introduction to Landmark Worldwide. I'm into people being transformed so that they can kind of get what I got about, like being where I am today, which is, pretty profound for myself, because my life was, pretty shit before. Couldn't get through stuff, and discovered that, human beings have blind spots. And so when we get that, we don't know what we don't know, then, we're freed up. Yeah. So, yep, that's all from me.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you for sharing.
No worries.
Okay, Ron, you had some questions. Let's see. Do you want to say the question, Ron? You're muted. Oh, you're still muted.
I'm concerned that once the Venus Project seriously comes into play, it's going to create a lot of controversy. And what's going to happen to the Venus Project?
Okay.
Are the rich and powerful going to want to try and silence the Venus Project?
Okay. So I'm going to mute you because there's a little bit of background noise. So the way I look at the Venus Project is view it as an organization such as the Red Cross. The Red Cross isn't there to go into countries and take from them. They go into countries that have problems and they say, we're here to assist you. And they put up their tents and they do something. And they have, based on where they go and what, in what areas they work, they go to war situations. People are at war and they have very little trouble. And you don't see, Afghanistan saying, we're going to bomb the shit out of the Red Cross. I dare you to come to our country or any other country, because they're not there to take from there. They're there to assist. That's how the Venus Project approach, the way I look at it, is that they say, we're here to assist you. What can we do for you? And they say, why are you doing this? Because we feel that if the world unites, we're all going to have it better. But if you want to join us, you can do that. And if you don't, we're here to assist you. Let us know if you want to join us. So we don't go there and say, give us your resources, give it up right now. Then you're going to have problems. So this is the approach. Now, how does this come about? How will you get a rich person that has a lot to say, I'm going to go in this direction? Because it seems like an impossible task. They have it already. They have what we call, or what normal people call, the good life. How can you convince a person like that? Well, you can't convince them by sitting, usually. You can't sit down and just convince them with words. Something has to happen in society. Ron, do you remember when Jacque talks about automation? Automation is the factor that they can't control. They can't stop this process of automation. Automation creates changes in society. When you're rich, you don't want too much change. You want change that benefits you. So what are you looking for? You say, I have a company. This person costs a lot. Can we automate it so I can get rid of this person? So that's what we're striving for if we have a company. We want to reduce cost. When you have too much automation, now people don't have purchasing power. They can't buy your shit. Now you're sitting there with high production, but nobody can buy your things. In America today, you have, I think it's 40, 50 million unemployed. And can you imagine how many people that are not registered as citizens, that are not working? That means that you have, let's say, 50 million people that are not able to purchase as they used to. The companies have the same capability of production, but now nobody's buying. The more automation comes in, the less this system is going to function. So they won't say, you have convinced me. The circumstances of change will convince them that we have to go towards a new direction. Not because I want to, I have to. That's why Donald Trump, when they gave $1,200, I'm talking about America because that's the example I have in my head. When they gave $1,200 to their citizens, if you would have gone back 1 year and said, can you give people $1,200? I said, never. Why should I? We're not socialists. The circumstances force that change. That's how we see this coming about. Not by great lectures, by the circumstances. Okay. Let me know if it's clear or you have any other questions, Ron.
I was approached by the government about artificial intelligence. And I basically pointed out to them that artificial intelligence and robotics is going to happen regardless whether it's under a resource-based economy or a monetary system. But I just basically told them the only way artificial intelligent robotics is going to work in the long run is by under a resource-based economy, because we'll still, if it's done under a monetary system, we'll still inherit the same problems we face today. And that's just how it works. Regardless of what anyone wants, artificial intelligent robotics is the future. But it's got to be done under a resource-based economy.
Yeah, we agree with you. But the problem is they're going to push it through today.
Yeah.
Any way they can. And they will have the consequences, and we will also have the consequences of that, unfortunately. Yeah. I can't see a way of going around it. This is part of this system, that it is when, when the house is burning down and their ass is on fire, and they will still sit for 5 more minutes, and then they say, oh, we have to get out. Because it's so difficult to let go of a system that has been successful to the people in charge.
Yeah.
So they're always looking, how can I maintain this? How can I keep it this way? And everybody says, get out. No, 5 more minutes, So unfortunately.
Neuronal lag.
Please continue, Fabricio.
No, I was just pointing out the conversation we had the other day the neuronal lag.
Yeah, that's the problem. The neural lag means that when, for example, if somebody says, you know, there's a virus, and let's say it's more deadly than the coronavirus, something new, and you say, no, I'm going to do what I've always been doing, that's neural lag. It means that you can't adapt to changing circumstances. You stick to the way you used to do things. So we have that problem.
The pilot that tried to control the airplane without having the wings, and you know, and it's a funny and very clear example about that.
Yeah, I think that was one of Jacque's examples.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the problems we have, unfortunately.
Notably, I was working within IT when open source first started becoming quite popular, and Linux in particular. And I was working for a very big company, and I was also working with the Microsoft people at that time. And then this big company I was working for wanted to use this open source software, and boy, can I tell you, the people at Microsoft, they were, there was a word you were not allowed to mention when they were in the room, because they would just explode. This is anti-American, it's communist, the software, all this kind of stuff. And today, all of us use it all the time. So it's kind of interesting that the cathedral type power structures cannot really affect that kind of shift in technologies like automation you mentioned. It's open source. You cannot bankrupt open source because they rely on free labor. They don't need your money. They do it for other reasons. So that was the power there. The change happened. They couldn't stop it. Not even Microsoft with their billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But somebody can get pissed off and can certainly try to disrupt things. I wouldn't put that past anyone if you threaten their wealth or control or power.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have that almost in all areas. You know, it's not just the rich and powerful or the manager, but also the person that is working, you know, just cleaning the toilets. When they want to bring in a machine, he sees this as a problem because it does affect, if he knows that, oh, I might lose my job, he sees the effect, and then he says, well, the machine isn't that good. It doesn't clean the corners. He sees all the problems with it. And I would too, if, you know, they would bring a system that says, you're out. If this works, you're out. If I know it will work, I would try to put it down as best as I can, you know. I wouldn't have the attitude of, oh, I'm going for a resource-based economy, you know, kick me out. Here's the future. Because immediately I see the problems for myself. And that's the type of society we have today, is that we can't embrace change because usually change comes with problems. Can be for individuals, can be for big companies. There are great aspects with it, but it means that something has to let go. In this society, it doesn't say, you know, oh, you lost your job, now we're going to take care of you, even though you are. In Sweden, they do a little bit of better job than other countries, so people are more apt to say, oh, it's okay. You know, I'm going to find something else. Okay.
There is a talk about a short or an extract, you know, of, I can post the link there. Jacque talk about how a person, if you have a machine that produce most of, or it is very important for your production, the guy will pay the best engineer and pay the fly in order to maintain that machine working. But if you it's not an employer, it's when you work there, if you have any health issue, you are for yourself, you know? That is the same for when the state goes to war. They push you to get it in their problems. But if you have a problem, they usually don't get involved.
Yeah, that's why they push the free will concept, you know. That's why they love showing stories about the impoverished foreigner that made it, because those stories means that, oh, he made it or she made it, why don't you make it? Instead of saying, I wonder if we can change society in a way so more people make it. So people love those stories. This person made it, but a million others didn't. So yeah, they have a problem. This person wasn't just lucky. No, everybody else is just lazy.
That's a good one, by the way. There's a quick quip you can use there. Do you suck because you are poor, or are you poor because you suck?
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to talk about? I feel that you feel that birth control is important, Ron.
Well, as is pointed out, when the choice is ours, we're going to need what, X more planets of resources to for the masses if we continue to breed and populate the planet. All right, and now MIT computers predicted the end of civilization around 2040 if we continue on this path. I foresee serious consequences for humanity if we don't start to do something about our population.
How do you think that will be solved in a resource-based economy?
Well, with science, with the methods of science and technology, it's possible we can support the masses, the present population. It's possible. But the thing is, how much population does Earth need to meet the objective of building maximum artificial intelligent robotics to conquer the universe? Like, we've got to think about longevity of resources and longevity of humans on Earth. The more humans we have using resources and climate change, the less longer humanity is going to survive on Earth. I foresee if we don't phase over to a global resource-based economy pretty soon, it'll be the rich and powerful that will survive the pending demise of planet Earth, because they will have the resources to survive the conditions. The ordinary people are not going to survive.
Can I ask, why do you think, or how come you think that humans need to conquer the universe? And have you ever considered that? Sorry, there's two questions in there. So, how come you think that humans need to conquer the universe? And the second question is, have you ever considered if humans have a limited time on Earth anyway?
I believe the universe is possibly one universe in possible trillions of universes. We've got to base it on the human body. our universe is a cell of many universes, I believe. And each universe is cyclic. It started as original bang. It expanded and it will eventually collapse onto itself. But that obviously will take billions of years.
So my question was, what do you think that humans need to conquer? What makes you think that humans need to take over this universe? Or
well, I believe we need to get off this planet and onto other planets and get home to the Creator. I believe life as we know it is a game given to us by the Creator to see whether we got the smarts to return home.
so you're sort of more looking at it from a metaphysical point of view. So just say, for circumstances, say if there was no Creator, how does that leave that theory then? Was that a suggestion? Just
Well,
saying if
that is our hope. That is our hope. That's the only hope we
How
got.
do you work that with science though? Because generally science, you have to have like, you have to prove, have evidence is generally the scientific method. You can propose whatever you like, but if you can't back it with any evidence or proof, generally it's not founded.
True, but if we are, what other purpose for humans is there?
See, sometimes I think Fresco talks about purpose in a lecture, and what's the purpose of life, and that my understanding of it is that there is no purpose. It's what you give life as your purpose, and what we understand is that people that look for purpose within themselves or within a being, it would not waste their time, but maybe forever be chasing purpose, something that's not there. Pageman, do you remember what he says specifically about purpose?
Are you talking to me?
Pageman, sorry, Ron.
You can continue, Ron. Did you want to say anything?
No,
Ron?
you're right. Go ahead.
So, purpose, the problem with purpose is that it is, let's say, a personal interpretation of a situation, which is based on, can I show you, oh my God, I'm going to see if I can find this. Okay, here, Ron, we were lucky. Okay, let me tell you a story, Ron, instead, and see if it makes, let's see if I get my point across. Okay, so, okay. Let's do like this. Do you guys see that? Right? The man standing here. Okay. So this person, he's looking for something. He gets to this field and he starts digging. And what he's looking for is gold. But he doesn't want these small pieces. He's looking for a big piece. He has a method of finding the big piece. So he starts somewhere, digs a hole, and he finds, let's say, 3 pieces. Then he goes to the left and he finds 2 pieces. Then he goes to the right, he finds 2 pieces. He goes back into the middle, goes a step forward. Then again, left and right. When there's less pieces, he stops and goes up. So he has a method, he has a goal. He wants to find the big piece of gold, and he has a method of finding it. Now, this is how it looks, the triangle. And I'm going to show you this video to demonstrate this method. Let's say this is the big piece of gold here at the bottom. And with time, it starts, no, it's going to go from the opposite. Okay, so here's the big piece of gold. It's in one area, and with time it spreads out. Do you see on the sides there are less, and in the middle there's more? So this is the principle he's working with to find what he wants. Let's go to the next picture. Okay, wait. Okay, so he achieves his goal and he finds it. Okay, so he had a method. This method, if he would go to the people of the past and they were also searching for gold, he would be able to explain it. If he would talk to people from the future and he would use this method, they will be able to understand each other because he's showing something in the physical world and how he's achieving his goal. In this story, I don't have the picture. Let's see if I have it. I don't think I have. Oh, it's here. It is here. Okay. But this person has another experience. He's hungry and he climbs a tree and he finds some eggs. Here, he starts picking the eggs, but then he sees something. He sees an owl. And for some reason, he starts putting them back. He says, oh shit. And he starts putting them back. And before he put them all back, he takes one and says, well, how well can an owl count? Now, the problem with this is that whatever is going on in his head is a personal experience, which is difficult for us to know how come he is doing this. He had a goal, he was hungry, and he had a method, climb the tree, take the eggs, but suddenly he stopped. He said, I can't do this because the owl is looking at me. So in his head, he had something that meant something to him, which we can't relate to. We don't know what that meant. And this is the problem with purpose, that there is no clarity in what it is that is going on. So it's a personal experience which is very real to this person, but it becomes very unclear to us as an observer what is going on, because he hasn't a way of showing us, you know, if you take the egg from the owl, tonight you're gonna die. And if he demonstrates that and 500 other times, and it happens, we say, oh, apparently there's a correlation here. Something is happening, we don't know what, but apparently this happens. But usually it's a personal interpretation of a situation. And this is how I try to, this is the problem with personal view of the world, to think that other people understand what you're talking about. Here's the, I think this is the problem, Ron. So when we're talking about, you know, this is what the world, this is what people need to do, it's like the owl. We see that you're reacting, but we don't know, you know, we can't see the correlation to our background, and it becomes unclear. So we try to avoid those things because we have enough problems talking about this subject, which are physical things, such as if you have enough resources, people will stop having wars, because it's like going to the beach and fighting over sand. We don't see that in the world. You know, if I go to the sand and in front of you, pick it up, Ron, and say, this is mine, you say, Pejman, don't waste my time with your bullshit. You know, it's not relevant. So this is, I'm not trying to put down your thoughts. I'm just saying that even if we talk about it, because it isn't physical, we might nod, but we don't understand it the way you do. And I don't think you should try to explain it. That's not what the Venus Project is about, that you can have that way of looking at it. This is what you want to accomplish, and that is fine. You can be a religious person and enjoy the Venus Project and say, I think this is the work of God. That's okay. We don't have a problem with that. We have a problem with it if we're building the first city and you say, I want to have, you know, this symbol here on this wall, then it's a problem, because other people have other symbols they want to put up there. And we say, this is not appropriate. You can have that in your room. You can have that on your free time. That is your personal, how you have your experiences to becoming this person. So we don't attack it, but we also don't discuss it really. I hope I framed it in a nice way.
Yeah, that's
Right.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and we definitely need to figure out the population level to see what Earth can support. That's something we definitely need to do. Otherwise, we're going to face serious consequences.
Yeah, and that we agree upon.
Yeah.
So what happens is that if, let's say, a resource-based economy starts, first off, just like with the gold, you have to have a goal in mind. Where is society going? When you know where you're going, then you know how many people do you need? How much resources? No. First off, first the goal, then what do you have to work with? And then you look at what are the people and what technologies do you have access to? What are the resources and then the people and the technology? How can you use this to go towards the goal? Then you know what is appropriate. Before that, we don't. We don't know how much people can be taken care of on the planet. In this society, it's a problem because everything is designed to break down, not to work optimally.
Yeah.
That's one of the main problems. In a resource-based
Listen.
economy, you don't have that problem anymore because the aim is to create the best that humanity can create regarding whatever.
Yeah. So instead of a washing machine lasting 5 years, it lasts a lifetime.
Yeah. Or maybe clothes now, for example, just to expand on it, maybe clothes that don't get dirty.
Yeah.
That's what the possibilities suddenly become. Now, how much resources do you save when you never have to wash clothes? And now people have been brought up not to care what kind of clothes they wear. They want comfortable clothes. They want functional clothes. How much, the amounts become, it becomes so much resources. I think we're going to have so much resources that we don't know what to do with them. So we're going to continuously educate people to use these resources, because the more they expand technology, the more we're going to have access to.
Plus the fact as well that resources, the planetary resources are recyclable.
Yeah.
So everything's going to get recycled. I don't know whether that's true with every resource, but with the advancements in science and technology, we should be able to come up with new resources out of old resources or used resources.
Exactly.
See, to me, when you speak about population or depopulation, I think that's with the mindset of today. So if we keep going on a continuing consumeristic mindset, we may, have issues supplying resources to people in the future. But all you have to do is look into some of the technological advances with vertical farming and whatnot, then you can actually increase yields a lot if it wasn't for money, if that makes sense. Well, the main aim wasn't just profit, we could most likely be able to feed everyone, if that makes sense. So in today's society, it's not, like Jacque says, it's not possible with the money we have today, but it's possible with the resources, and those resources include people thinking power, and coming up with new innovative food techniques, and as Patient said, stuff that doesn't break down, or it's all recyclable. So you think about it in a logical point of view, humans should really, as part of the design process, design something that is at least 95 or 99% recyclable. Everything we have today should at least be that. That just, to me, says logical. And it should be designed so it doesn't break down, or that it can be replaced easily. It's like, so we mentioned the phones, we throw our phones away. Like, why can't we just replace a chip on the back of it to give it more processing power?
We could humans could advance overnight if we had centralized artificial resource management, so that, like, if everyone's connected to centralized artificial intelligence and all ideas are going through the one place, we could come up with technology that would be mind-blowing in the future.
I would disagree with that in today's society highly. I don't think that would work at all. In a resource-based economy, it may be a different thing. But if you look at the reinforcing factors for ASI and whatnot in a capitalistic mindset, there's a guy called Ben Gortzel who does a lot of work in that area, is an expert in that area, from what I understand. And he speaks a lot about it. So maybe that's something that you can view to give you a better understanding. But in this society, I don't think ASI or AGI, it would be beneficial to everyone. But in a society where people aren't reinforced by money, then most likely it would be.
It's got to be done under a resource-based economy, ASI.
Yeah, but to me, it's not like just saying ASI is a solution. I don't think it is. To me, you know, how we approach society, our culture, values change is more of a solution before we introduce those kind of things. Like, I'm pretty sure Fresco says in one of the books too, he doesn't mind surveillance. He said in this society, he's right against it. But in a society where it's not reinforced by profit motives, it's different.
I think Ron meant that. He meant, you know, resource-based economy. Well, was I correct on that, Ron?
Yeah.
It was on, I think you were talking about the same thing.
See, under a resource-based economy, we won't need surveillance because the culture and the mindset of people will change. So surveillance won't be needed, I don't think.
Let me say it in a different way, Ron. You will have maximum surveillance, okay? But now let's try to look at it in a different way. Imagine when you have a child, if you're appropriate, you have maximum surveillance because the person is inappropriate. So you're constantly looking, and especially when you have a 3-year-old, when it's quiet, you know it's very dangerous. So you have to run into the room and say, you know, have they pulled off the diaper or what are they doing? So in a resource-based economy, they have maximum surveillance, but it is for your benefit. It's a way of assisting you. So the way I look at it is like, it's when you have the your GPS on your phone, it's even in today's society, it assists you. You know, you get a notification, oh, you're going home, it's 22 minutes. And you're like, I didn't ask for that. So it's assisting you. And when there is nobody looking out to get something from you, but you have a society that wants to help you, then you want that. You want the surveillance. For example, what is the most appropriate food for me? I'm going to climb a mountain tomorrow. The system knows your interests, knows what you're going to do, and gives you the appropriate food to be able to cope with your tasks. When you are going somewhere, it knows where you're going. So it assists you. It prepares things for you. So it becomes a different way of looking at it. In today's society, it's highly dangerous because somebody's trying to take something from you. In a resource-based economy, that surveillance is there for you in the best way possible.
See, in relation to surveillance, I was thinking more in terms of surveillance for criminals, but in the future, under a resource-based economy, we're not going to have that problem.
No.
Because everyone's needs are going to be met. So people are not going to steal. They're not going to. It's going to be. It's mind blowing what it's going to be like.
Totally different approach. And that's why all the old words that we normal people are afraid of. For example, what happens to my freedom? Well, there is no freedom. You never had freedom. Who is free in this society? Ron, I'm going to come to your country. Is that a free country? I'm going to drive the way I feel. Nope, you can't do that. There is no free. The only way you're free is when you're in your own room and everything is locked out and your wife can't enter. Now you're free. You can do whatever you want for 5 minutes. But usually there is no freedom. It's an illusion. And in a resource-based economy, it's also, you're not free to do. Freedom means to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And there has never been a society like that. And in a resource-based economy, you will have more access to things to give you room to do what you want. That's a different way of looking at it. But you're not free to just, speak your own language. As a child, nobody tells you anything. You just, whatever, just shit there and, all the bacteria, you're free. It isn't like that. But it's a more appropriate way because there isn't the game of who is benefiting from your misery.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
See, the way I look at the monetary system, I used to be involved in investments and online investments, right? I invested maybe $20,000 and I lost most of it. The way I see it, investing, there's always a loser. Money on the monetary system, there is always losers and there's always winners. It's not an equal playing field. We've got to get away from the monetary system.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the winners, they ride the losers. Now, if you would have an investment and let's say you're successful and you make 10 million, that means that you're riding society because you say, now I'm just going to sleep all day.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's
how the monetary system works. There's always losers.
Yeah.
For every dollar you make, you're taking money from somebody else.
Yeah.
I would like to add something.
Yeah.
Well, I think that for the moment and that we arrived or in the transition period, it is important to understand that we all have to, well, us and all the other people who joined this movement, there has to be a change in the mindset of each one of us, okay? There has to be a change in the mindset towards a resource-based economy. That will not come from one day to another, of course. There's a learning process in it. But I think that's very important because with this new mindset in the resource-based economy, our moral values will be very different. And of course, as Peshman commented, that we will have access to many things and we will have the opportunity to do anything we want. Go back to school or try different hobbies, etc. Anything we can do. But of course, I think that the base of it is this new mindset in this new society. Okay.
Yeah. The difficulty when talking about a resource-based economy, I'm always thinking, at what stage are you talking about? So when we talk about, for example, the transition, that's a different stage. 5 generations in, it's something else, and 10, So it's always, I'm always thinking, I would ask you guys that in the future, when you're talking about resource-based economy, talk about what stage you're talking about. Because transition, I'm thinking, all the problems that come with that. And when you say you have access to do whatever, then I'm thinking, 3 generations in, when you have a fully functional resource-based economy. Because then that's something else. In the transition, it's like this. It's a city is built and you say, I want to go there. They say, send your application. And it's not relevant. But you say, I've been a point of contact. Say, yeah, but your skills are not relevant at this time. Do you understand? So it's a different time. And when you get there, you say, where's all the free shit? And they say, at this time, this is the amount of resources we have available. So you have to work harder than you did on the outside, maybe. So because that's the transition. And you should always look at what is available. But when you see, for example, the city is functioning better, then I imagine you will get a message saying the amount of resources for you has increased. So daily you will see that increase, that it's improving, something is happening. It went up by 5 cents or $2 or 5 trees, whatever, how they're counting. So you steadily see the progress of improvement. That is the motivator of you observing that something is happening. It is improving. And then you will reach a point where you never look at the resources available to you because it is no longer anything you need to look at because it's beyond your capacity to use. So that's difficulty with the transition, not knowing at what stage it is. Yes, Fabrizio.
I want to point out the artificial intelligence. There is an interview in Singularity 101. I don't know, maybe most of you saw it. And Jacque make a clarification about that term. And I don't understand really what he meant. He said, he's got artificial intelligence that you are referring to only it does not touch the real world. It's on our office. I'm sorry. Maybe you want to put, I have the audio here. Maybe you want to listen it.
What was it that somebody was talking about artificial intelligence and he was correcting them?
Jacque in interview.
Okay.
Talk about artificial intelligence.
The owner to press keys, talk to it. Mm-hmm. So obviously automatization takes a central point in your project. Yes. Right? But yes. Is that artificial intelligence that you're referring to? Only if it doesn't touch the real world, it's artificial. It should be about the real world.
Okay.
It's enough?
Yeah. I think
I mean, yes, I hear you.
Okay, so first off, when you're talking about artificial intelligence or you're listening to somebody talking about it, I'm going to talk about something else and let's see if it's relevant to this, okay? The problem with the word artificial intelligence is the word intelligence. The person that is using that term isn't using it the way we use it. So when you start off with that, we have a problem because most people think that, for example, intelligence is something you're born with. They think in those terms, or intelligence is something that some people get, but some people get much better. So if you want to compare, that's not how we view it. We view it as something, an experience a person has had. It's something to do with their background, not something they're born with. It has to be an experience or experiences put together to find a conclusion. But it isn't from inside of them. It came from outside influencing the way they look at it. So
But Jacque put the stress in the artificial part, not the intelligent.
Yes, in this example.
He tends to say that it should be like, no, I don't know, in a natural intelligence, like something like that, because it has to be, it refers to the real world, not to the artificial world. Something like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how he meant artificial. Can somebody else chip in? What do you think? Do you have any reference for artificial that Jacque has talked about?
Well, I see it that when he says artificial intelligence, it doesn't come from a human. It's an intelligence created, let's say created or backed up by machines, software, computer. To this intelligence, artificial will accomplish any kind of task. Okay, but when he says to the real world, I mean, or I think that it applies to solve a situation or any problem in the real world. But this intelligence is machines, software programs, something not human.
Yes, you are right. Most of us understand in your way that you are saying, but Jacque make put the stress in the artificial because it's like you are measuring or process artificial values, not real values.
Mm-hmm. And Nate says there is a lecture where Fresco states artificial intelligence is when someone only recites books and not experiences in speaking to other people.
I just thought I'd say that just read the dictionary version of artificial. So artificial is number one, made by human skill, produced by humans, opposed to natural. Imitation, simulated, sham. And three, lacking naturalness or spontaneity, forced, contrived, feigned. So I just thought I'd read those out so we get a kind of a sense of like the dictionary version of the word, meaning of the word, instead of floundering with different interpretations. That's the dictionary's interpretation, which probably used today.
Can you play the, can you say one more time what he said, Fabricio?
Okay.
Or play it again.
I design will be changed by future generations. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. If I design a laptop today, it's the best I know of up to now. But 10 years from now, it'll be smaller, lighter, and do many more things. Mm-hmm. Maybe the size of a ring. Your laptop will do all those things. And you won't have to press keys, you talk to it. Mm-hmm. So obviously automatization takes a central point in your project. Yes. Right? But yes. Is that artificial intelligence that you're referring to? Only if it doesn't touch the real world, it's artificial. It should be about the real world. Well, automation means that whatever a man can do, a machine can do better. A doctor has 10 tremors per second in his hands.
Okay. So, yeah. So is it an example of, for example, artificial intelligence when they're working with non-physical things? For example, the system of the future, AI of the future, will manage resources which are physical. But in today's society, it is used for non-physical things. Is that what he's trying to say?
Well, I don't know if he's talking about, because the Nicola asked him about the project, the Venus project. I think, or it seems to me that Jacque put the stress that when you are talking about artificial, you are not talking about the real world.
Yeah. But I wonder what word would you use instead if you want to talk about machines that, for example, manage resources? You know,
Yeah, because at the moment, I think we're it's being manipulated. So that's the unnaturalness of it. Is that resources are being manipulated, like phones, you know, like where phones are sort of changing every year and getting quicker and quicker it changes. So it's all manipulated by the system. So whatever the opposite of that is.
Really, what Jacque is doing is put another sense of in that word. We used to understand as artificial intelligence the intelligence that came from machines. But Jacque put also the stress in what machines are measurement, what the process are involved, what kind of data.
Mm. But I would like then an example of when he says artificial, an example of a machine working with artificial intelligence. Like, is it the non-physical things? For example, a machine that is handling stocks. Is that what he means? That they're not working with the real physical world?
Yes, I think that is the most clear example.
Okay. Let's put it there until we get something else, because I'm not sure about that one.
I think we have to hear that interview complete, because maybe there is another approach. Most of it what Fabricio says, but maybe there's other approach or other point of view that Jacque wanted to express there, maybe.
I felt he was trying to say something about that particular word, artificial, which I can't remember that he mentioned in, for example, intelligence. I remember a lot of places where he talks about that part in artificial intelligence, but I don't remember. Nate, can you fill us in with your reference? Something that
yeah, it's actually, I believe it's an unreleased lecture. I think I have it in my Google Docs, so I'm gonna find it for you guys and paste like the specific context when he says it.
Okay. Okay, while we're waiting, does anybody want to bring up something else?
Well, I want to say regarding the recycle that Jacque give a very nice example when a chip of the cell phone, for example, they don't work anymore, a second chip turn around and put or connect itself without even notice, you know? So you have 2 or 3 chips in the cell phones, and you don't have to even take it to repairs because the chip itself is, or the phone itself is provide with this kind of system that replace chips in any case that the first or the second one going down.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, there are so many examples of improvements. I'm going back to the word, but artificial, for example, in our education, a lot of our education is artificial, that it doesn't deal with the real world. It deals with our society's structure of how it plays this game.
Yes, maybe he's talking about the rules that when you program a machine, that rules have to go along with nature, have to go along with the physical world. Maybe that is another approach that can help us. You know, the chess game is completely unreal. It's fantastic. It makes you think and make you get it into strategies, and it's very, but it's not real. So in the future, we will have games that make us think using the natural world as reference, with the natural world rules and laws.
Yeah. But then I wonder, what would you call, what is a more appropriate word when you're using that? If you're going to talk about, instead of saying artificial intelligence, what is the word that is more appropriate?
Yes, I thought about that.
Yes, Esther?
Unnatural. Sorry, just I didn't realize that.
Natural.
Unnatural. Unnatural.
Yeah, but what is the more appropriate word if you want to replace artificial intelligence? Is it natural intelligence? You know, what is the? But yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It should be artificial intelligence referring to the natural world. Because if we are talking only about natural intelligence or artificial intelligence, we have to be aware that we are talking about the way that intelligence came from and what that intelligence is processing.
Can you post that video?
And how it's processing.
Can you post that video?
Sure.
I'm going to read what Nate wrote. I became conditioned to that by seeing stuff that they never saw. They did not look at families and conditioning relationships here. They would be able to see it. They would be able to see what a pig does, each thing that it does serially, okay? And they would understand the meaning of reinforcement. When you read a book, it is not adequate that it is, again, artificial intelligence. Okay. Okay. I don't want to dwell too long on particular words because
how about imitation simulated?
Sorry?
How about imitation or simulated? I know you just said you didn't want to carry on doing this, but yeah, just as a means of adding another couple of things. Imitation or simulation is
like sympathy.
Yeah, usually when I feel when I don't have a clear answer, because everything I say, if you would like, I can give you the reference for it, like how I base everything I said to you, and like where I learned these things. And when I get lost in this space, I try to, I would rather get back to you on this instead of speculating and just hoping that I find something. So I would like to listen to it and try to give something relevant. And same for you guys, like this is the best part of it, that, it gives you something to reflect upon, and this is how we grow. But we shouldn't feel like right now we have to give the answer. So I do this a lot. Just put it aside, toss it around, and then we get back to it again. It's no problem. So like in 2 weeks from now, we hear everybody's thoughts about it. Is that okay, Fabrizio?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So
we have homework then.
yes, and I think it's a good way to end with that because it's been 2 hours now. And let's end with, like in school, with some homework. And we will do this again in 2 weeks. I hope to see you then. Okay, guys? Thank you for joining today.
Much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pageman.
Well,
bye, guys.
bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.